Okay, today's lesson, gradient mesh. Starting off like we always do, we're going to go and name this gradient mesh exercise. I want my units to be in inches so I can see what I'm doing. I'm more familiar with inches than points or picas. And I think I'm good to go with this. There's the orientation of the page. It's going to be in a portrait. Hit OK. Now, first thing I want to do, and this is just going to be a reiteration of what we've gone over before. If I go and I drag and drop this image into here, that's a possibility for us to get the image. But seeing that this is a relatively new practice, I'm wondering if this automatically embeds the image. So I'm going to links, and that's the same as if you were to place the image by going under File, Place. And what that does is this becomes a link. If it were embedded and it were an embedded image, you'd have that icon there. So I'm going to go and embed this so that I make sure that when I leave today, this image is going to come with the file. Because there are times where you might forget to go and grab that file and put it onto your portable drive, and then inevitably you go home and you open it up and you need the resource material that isn't there. Okay, did you see whether that icon was there? I'm not sure. I thought I saw that it was there, but I'm not sure. It's there. Okay, so we're good to go here. Again, another reiteration, double-clicking on this layer, naming it image, locking it, dimming my image so that I can work and see what's happening. And that's fine for me. So I'm going to go and create a new layer in which to work on, and I'm going to name this candle. And I'm good to go. Red is going to be the color that's assigned to this layer. I'm not sure that's a good idea, seeing as I'm going to be drawing over red. So I'm going to double click here and change the color for that particular layer to grass green. Be a nice contrasty color, maybe just green. I like that one better. All right, and then I'm going to proceed to draw the candle. Now, since I'm recording this, I'm going to go a little fast because I don't want the size to get so large that it doesn't record. So I'll come back after the fact and answer any questions you guys have. So I'm drawing the contour of this shape using the same formula I've been teaching you guys all along, which is beginning of a curve, end of a curve. And then I'm going to close this. Shift key, close with the circle. I don't want that additional anchor point. Get rid of it and get rid of the fill. And what I'm going to do with this particular shape is that I'm going to save it off to the left or to the right because I'm hitting the X key to get stroke in foreground. And I'm going to save this because once you apply the gradient mesh to this particular shape, you can't go back. You can go and get rid of all the information that you incorporate to this, and then you try to give it a gradient, and it's like a virus. It's affected. It's not going to go away. So under Object, we've got the option for Create Gradient Mesh. And you're going to see rows, columns, appearance is flat, 100% highlight. Appearance flat meaning that when I give this a color, let's just say I assign red to this, the whole thing will be a solid red shape. There's not going to be any highlights or anything that might happen with to center or to edge. So what I see is what I get in this regard. Highlight. If I sample the color with my eyedropper tool from the photographic image, the color that I sample is the color that will go and be selected. I don't want this to give me a shade or a tint of the color, so I'm going to be certain to keep this at highlight 100. And I like to begin with a less is more, so I like to go with 3 rows, 3 columns of information, and watch what happens when I apply. Preview. You see that you're getting 3 rows of information, 3 columns of information with these anchor points here at these intersections of the gradient mesh. Each one of these anchor points you can select just like you would. I'm going to hit OK to this actually. And with the white direct selection tool, I can deselect, go over here. Smart Guides is obviously on. White arrow selected by hitting the letter A. Click here, and you've got 4 anchor points assigned to each one of these versus the 2 that we're accustomed to. So now what I'm going to do is with my eyedropper tool, I'm going to actually first slide this off to the left or the right a little bit. Eyedropper tool, sample the darkest dark, and with my white arrow, I'm going to go and proceed by selecting some of these anchor points. Now if I hit the Shift key, I can multiple select or I can deselect. Anchor key or Option key, what am I saying? The Shift key, go and click off on that, and it's deselected. It should be deselected. It's hard to see with this green electrifying my eyes.
Deselects.
And you can see what happens. I'm going to exaggerate it right here, but you see this anchor point and that anchor point were selected. So when I select a color, it is like pouring a can of paint onto this one anchor point. It hits and it spreads out depending on the length of the anchor point's handles that are associated with it. I can drag these, bring them back in. I can select this one, and this is what I want to do. I'm going to proceed to go in sample color from this top image. There's a number of ways I can choose. I can grab these anchor points with the white arrow like I just did. I can use the lasso tool as well. And the lasso tool is something that you can go and get a little bit more detailed with. You can go and grab areas and skip others, whereas you're restricted to rectilinear selections when you're utilizing the white direct selection tool. And if I want to be sure about the color that I select, go in there closer. Oops, it's on the stroke over here if you can see that. So X key, click on that, and you're going to get, color that's close to what you want to get. And this color, it's in CMYK mode. I can bring my swatches out. What I want to do every time is get rid of colors that I'm not using, throw them in the can, and grab some of these and throw these out as well. And once again, I'm going to sample here, grab this color, drag and drop over here. That color I think is a nice warmer, subtly warmer, so I'm going to get rid of that. Zoom away. Dock getting in your way, again, that's one of those quick little fixes. You go to the dock and you turn the hiding on. All right, space bar for the hand tool. Command Option space bar to zoom away, and the magic wand, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go with the lasso, make my selection, and assign this color. I'm going to go to the lower portion with my direct selection tool. Letter I for my eyedropper, grab the darkest dark. And you can see how ugly this gray that's happening is, and so that leads me to believe that this black that I chose isn't a rich black. Could be darker, so I'm going to grab that, move that over. I'm going to make this a colder black, and this is where you've got to go and determine that you're not going to be restricted by the limitations of your image. It's you, the designer, that's got to go and make the decision to improve something you see as a visual weakness. So zooming out, oops, didn't mean to do that. Black arrow, selection tool, move that over here. And now where the fun comes in is when I go in with my direct selection tool and I make selections and then I sample color that's adjacent to it. And you can get subtlety by doing this. You can get it to blend in. Okay? Now, I'm not thrilled with the color I'm choosing right here. So I'm going to go in here with my sliders and I'm going to go and eyeball this, and I'm thinking that that's a lot closer to what I'm looking for. And I'm going to go and grab this one and drop this one, and I'm going to lose this one. Okay, one more time. I'm going to start with these, assign that orange color, grab this and shift key, grab that and choose that. Now this is the gradient mesh tool down here. And this allows you to go and add information on the fly. So once again, undo that, white arrow, selecting these, letter I for the eyedropper. I'm going to do that. And now I can go and move these as I deem necessary. Move this up, move this one up. I've got snap to guide on, it appears. Or smart guides is causing restriction of my movement, so I'm going to get rid of that. Do this, eyedropper that, oh, too much. So if you want to have the color that you have assigned here, you want this to extend down, you can move the whole anchor point and you can extend the handle for some more saturation to come with it, or you can pull this back and you can drag this up and you can manipulate your color manipulations that way. If I select in an area like this, this is called a field. All 4 anchor points are now affected. You can see what happens. It's like I poured a paint can in here and it spread out from all 4 anchors at once. Undo that. And so I want to get some nuances, some more details in here, so I'm going to have to go in here with my mesh tool and add some more information. around the edges as well. And then with my selection tool, I'm going to go and grab some of these and try to come up with a cross contour image. And this top corner is a little bit darker in value, and so I might need to come up with another bit of information so I can make that contrast difference. And again, the closer these are, the more detailing you're going to get. There's some people that do gradient mesh portraits that become very photorealistic because of the nuances, all the detail that they put in with the gradient mesh, and they come up with some amazing flesh tones. But again, that's, for me, I'd rather just take a photograph. And so this is how you're going to start to get this to happen for you. And see the subtle changes by making selections within the colors that you're creating. Okay, this is one way to go about it. What I prefer to do, however, is to just get the main body of the candle to look about right. And then what I'll do is I'll make the second portion of it, the top portion, a separate shape, and then I'll just place this above the other. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as you're using your resource to get the information you need to make this look believable. That's our goal. So I drug a copy, and I'm just going to use this. And I'm going to go within Gradient Mesh tool entirely here and do one of these. Again, I'm getting close to the edge so that I have the differentiation and I create a real discernible lip. And then let's go make some choices here, some selections. Letter I is the eyedropper tool. Right here specifically, I'm going to go and sample that highlight. Maybe this. I can always go over here and just reduce the black involved, and I can raise the or heighten the value. Shift key, I can do one of these. And if it's going all the way to the edge and that's not what I'm looking for, I can always go and buffer it by adding that information there and sampling the color next to it. I need another bit of information over here. I need this to stop at a certain point. It's going bleeding out too far. And I can get this and place this atop right now. White arrow, I'm going to go in here and grab this and move this down a bit. Shift key, I can move two at once. And if I decide, I really don't need this bit of information. I don't need this information because it's hidden anyway. I can hit delete, and everything vertically associated and horizontally associated goes away. See, all that information went away. And that's not such a big deal because I'm going to be able to add more if I need to at a later moment. Okay. So I'm in business so far, and again, I can go here with my white arrow, move this down, add a little bit more information right there. Shift key, shift key, shift key. Eyedropper tool, sample this, and get rid of some of the black. This area in here looks like it's got a little bit of orange to it. And I'm starting to get this. This is kind of ugly. It's getting a bit muddy. So I'd rather do that and make the decision that it's not looking that great. I'd like to fix that. This here, I'm just going to click on the field and sample the color right next to it and see how it starts to blend in. This is just not a good color, so. Okay, now it's getting subtler or more subtle. I'm an art teacher, not an English teacher. Okay. So this is coming along okay, and it's starting to get that glow that would happen if you had a candle lit up. So now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and repeat this little trick again and grab one of these, drag this, drop this over here, and eyedropper, sample that color. Wow, that's not even close. I'm going to sample this color. That's more like it. And what I can do is I can just do a straight gradient. I can go dark to light. Let's try that, see how that works. So everything that we're learning, you're going to be able to apply, and that's the point, is to get you guys exercises, enough exercises so that you guys will be able to think on your own when it comes time. You're going to be able to reach into your bag of tricks and come up with the solution to the problem. I'm going to grab this, and then I'm just going to add black to that. Shade it. Make it look recessed. Click on this. Make it a higher value. And then I can go down here or here, and I can move this away from the edge. And you're starting to get that recessed look. And lastly, what I'm going to do for this candle in particular is I'm going to go grab some of these highlight shapes. Maybe I'd rather use the pencil so it's not so clean. Get a little bit of texture. Where's my pencil? Right there. Double click the pencil. I like the fidelity and the smoothness to be far to the left so I get exactly what I'm looking for. The within pixels I like to have to the right. So if I'm drawing like this, I'm going to pretty much get what I drew. If they were slid to the right, it would be an oversimplification of the actual line that I just created. And you would get half of maybe even quarter of the anchor points I was trying to get. So I want the texture here, so I want a lot of anchor points for this. This is not drawing a logo. And I'm going to sample this color over here. Get rid of this. I don't need this. It's in my way. There we go. And I'm going to get this as close to white as I can without making the color go too far south. Okay. And the other color on the back, I'm just going to grab this one. Move it over here, crunch it down, Option Shift so it constrains from the outside in. Get the both of these, and this is the next trick that we'll show on this particular exercise, and that is to go to your effect and check this first. Document raster effect settings to make sure that you're at 300. A lot of the time it's set to 72, and you'll try to soften the edge, and it'll really blur out, and that's because your resolution's at 72 ppi. I want transparent and I want anti-aliasing so that I don't have a bitmap edge. I want it to be smoothed out. And now I'm ready to go and offer some softened edges to this piece. There's the preview. I want to get closer to see it. And I'm going to move this out. And that's pretty good. I'll take that. And then proceed to slide these into position over here. So you can see my circle needs to be a little bit more compressed. Move this down. White arrow again, drag this behind the ellipse. And it's just a matter of sitting here and spending the time necessary to get it done. I need more texture on here, so I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to eyeball and roughly come up with a texture that is reminiscent of what I'm looking for, and I'll just scribble being sure to hit the Option key when I'm through to close the shape. Sample this color and make it a shade. And then I'm going to go blur it softly, very subtly, and go to the transparency option and knock down the value to treat this like a watercolor painting perhaps. We have transparency overlays that are going to add without detracting too much. And this color still bothers me. It's just not liking that. It's just so muddy looking. This is why you should probably have different layers so that you can manipulate this without issues like this arising. This is looking too soft for me. If I want to go and modify this, I'll go to Appearance so that I can go, and this shape is detailed right here. It's this color fill. It's got a Gaussian blur. Well, you double click there and you can knock this down to arrive at a crisper edge. And same thing with this one. And I'm just going to quickly give us some texture on the other side. But again, it's up to you to sit here and make the observation. And again, this is one of those things where Picasso wasn't able to draw what he wanted until he proved to people that he had observation skills enough that he could replicate realism in the Renaissance style. Once you show people that you can do something like that, that's where you get the ability or the credibility to be able to do what you want. Okay, transparency, good there, blur, and I think that's about right there. Let's go get the photograph and not the artboard. I need to get my layers up again, so I'm going to go to Workspace, Essentials, and have it reset. There's my layers. Double click here, get rid of my dim, and see how closely I'm coming. Holy smokes. So you can see that I've got the potential to go a lot better in terms of this. This is just really a muddy color right now, but you get the point. Any questions? Okay, let me finish. I'm going to wrap this up. So it's a quick fix. Grab that field. Oh, it's just not getting it. Okay, so you can see how this is going. You can fix this. Do what you got to do. You guys are free to start.
Is it all right that we have a green candle?
Yes, that's fine. Okay, you can see how this is coming out. And don't forget that you guys can move these anchor points and get this. It's essentially like using a smudge or some sort of a tortillon rolled up piece of paper sticks that you can start to smear the colors around, which is kind of nice. But this is how you can achieve realism in Illustrator, by using this kind of a pseudo airbrush effect. Okay?